Well, good morning. It is Tuesday morning in lovely May, and I am doing my first recording on my new MacBook Pro. Yay! I broke down and got a MacBook. Are you kidding me with the laptops? My fourth one in 8 years just died. And I mean, okay, so I buy $300-400 laptops, and in the end, I could have bought a Mac Pro 8 years ago and probably still be using it. So I bit the bullet. Now I have a Mac Pro. Yes, that was a very tough bullet to bite, but hopefully it's worth it. So, my first recording, yay! I want to talk to you a little bit today about something very personal and very dear to my heart, and that is my daughter. And yesterday was her 11th birthday. I'm old to have an 11-year-old. I know, I'm an old mom, but you know what? She keeps me really young, which is awesome. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about how our family came to be. And it's a little different. My husband and I adopted Samantha from China 10 years ago. In a couple of days, it'll be 10 years, when she was just over a year old. So a little bit about that. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about that. And basically, I always wanted to be a mother, and I always loved children. Always, always, always. I had been a nanny for a really long time. I took care of a lot of newborns, a lot of twins. So when we got married, we decided to hold off a little bit on having kids. I got married when I was 29, and we decided to hold off, and we had fun. We did all kinds of things. We moved to Arizona, and we're like, should we have kids? Oh no, let's do this. I'll go to real estate school, and yeah, we got time. And at some point in my mid-30s, I said, you know, if we're going to do this, we might as well just do this, right? So we stopped all birth control, and it wasn't happening. I wasn't getting pregnant, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm not getting pregnant. We weren't really trying. We weren't really like, oh, this is what we need to do. I was kind of like, if we have them, we have them. If we don't, we don't. Then a friend approached me, knowing I had been a nanny, and she was adopting a little girl from China, she and her husband. And she asked me if I would watch her daughter for her when she went back to work, because she had to go back to work very quickly. She wasn't getting a normal maternity leave. They didn't want to put her in daycare, and they knew I had been a nanny, and we were good friends. So I said, sure, I can do it for a little while till you all get settled. Well, I picked those guys up from the airport. I bonded with this little girl immediately, which we wanted us to do because she was going to suddenly be put in my care very quickly after getting here from China. And throughout the 10 months or so that I watched her, my husband and I started really thinking about, you know what, this is great. She's awesome. We could do this. We're not having we're not getting pregnant. We could either spend a fortune on fertility if we really want to be parents, or we could see if we could adopt. I don't know if we could. Let's try it. So we decided to do that. We went to the agency, and they said, why couldn't you? You have XYZ. We can start the paperwork. So in 2005, we made the decision. We went to our first class on adoption and everything that we had to do. And we got right to work, and we got our letters of reference from family, friends, coworkers. We got all our financial stuff. We got all our medical history. We had to write a biography that was like, I don't know, it had to be like 6 pages long about our life and our childhood. We had social workers come. We had psychological evaluations. This took immense fingerprints, criminal records, and all of those things, a complete and thorough background check. If all parents had to go through what we went through, let me tell you, there'd be a lot less kids in the world. And there'd be a lot less kids that are suffering, quite frankly. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. So we did all of this. In 2005, we were told once you get all your paperwork in and it gets logged in in China. China sees it all, they've accepted it all, and they said, okay, yes, you can adopt. We're going to find you a child and match you with a child. All this would take 8 months from that login date. Well, things changed in 2005 and 2006. We got our login date in January 2006. And in the meantime, some things had happened in China that slowed down the adoption process. This made it very difficult. We had a lot of people, a lot of friends, and a lot of families saying, what are you doing? You're going to be that much older if it takes any longer. Are they scamming you? Why don't you just adopt from the United States? I mean, we had a lot of outside pressure and influence and people saying, don't do this. But we held our guns and we said, no, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to believe our agency. We're going to believe in the system. We know we're meant to have a child from China. And so we persisted. And sure enough, in 2008, we knew it was coming. We knew that we were just a few months away from getting our match, they call it. And so we were very excited. Baby showers were planned. Baby furniture was bought. We knew we were about to become parents. And we had gotten news at the end of March that something had happened and with our paperwork that they didn't know about, and that could move our login date to another month. But what that meant in terms of adoption was that it could be another year to 2 year wait. That was devastating news. We were heartbroken. Again, all the outside pressure, don't do this. And I'm like, I've come too far. I just need to have faith. I just need to believe and have hope despite all of the pressure for us not to have hope. We persisted. And even though I was a basket case that whole week, I knew the referrals were coming. The matches for the referrals were coming on a Friday. And Thursday night, I had a dream about my brother who had passed away. And he came to me in my dream. This is no lie. I have dreams like this. And he said, are you done? Are you done with your pity party? Are you done with your feeling sorry for yourself and worrying? Because it's going to be okay. And the next morning, I woke up very calm. It was April 4th, 2008. And I went to work. I was a real estate agent at that point. I went into my office and thought, just go through your day and let things happen as they're going to happen. And I got a phone call at 10:30 saying that we had a daughter waiting for us in China, that thanks to my agency and thanks to the director of this particular orphanage in China, they picked a girl who wasn't quite ready, but they quickly went through her paperwork so that she could come home with us. And so that was it. And a month later, after a baby shower, that was the greatest day of my life, by the way. Referral day, we got her picture, we cried, we laughed, everything. We went out, we went to a Chinese restaurant because you get all this paperwork and it's in Mandarin. And we went to a Chinese restaurant that we always went to, and the guy read all the paperwork for us. And it was a great day. And a month later, a couple of days after her first birthday, we flew to China, 17 hours. And we flew to Guangzhou. And then we flew to the small province where she was from. And we had what we call my Chinese nanny. She was waiting for us with a big sign, thank goodness, because China is nothing like the West. If you've never traveled to the Orient at all, it's nothing that's familiar. So she was there, brought us to our hotel room about midnight. We opened the door, and there's a crib in the room. And many people who adopt go to this hotel. So there were a few other families there as well. And we're like, here it is. The next morning we get up, the Chinese nanny takes us shopping, and we get formula and diapers and little treats that she might like. And then we go back and pace the hotel room and bite our fingernails. And I mean, it was the most nerve-wracking 2 or 3 hours of my life. Frank took a nap. I was literally pacing the floor. Then open the door, and there's 2 people standing there with my baby in their arms. And she's just looking at us and she's holding on. She has this little name tag that's got her name on it and where she's from. And she's holding on to this for dear life. And he said, okay, here you go. And I'm like, okay. I took her and they're like, okay, have a good life. Shut the door. And voila, we are parents. And they shut the door and Frank and I look at each other and we're like, oh my God, that was it. And here she is. And she was just looking at us. And I put her on the bed and I sat on my knees on the floor. I wasn't like on top of her because I thought she would be, wait a minute, back up people. And she slowly gave us things. We gave her things. We gave her a little bit of food. And, she had a few crying jags in China, of course. She cried, gee, 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 which we found out later she was calling for a foster brother because she had been in foster care. So that was sad. But we just hugged her and we just gave her space when she needed space and let her come to us. And 2.5 weeks in China, she was saying a few English words. She couldn't sit up when we first got her. She was almost sitting up. She was standing on her feet. She was playing with toys and she was a happy child and very attached to us. Didn't really want to go to anybody else and would just stay with us, eating great. We were very fortunate because a lot of the people there, their babies were like not moving and just staring off into space and they wouldn't eat. And when they did make a sound, they were screaming because it's traumatic. It's traumatic for those babies. And we had a wonderful agency, Hand in Hand was the name of the agency, and they really prepared us along with another site called Rumor Queen, which was a blog that talked all about it. And so we talked through the blog to many, many people who have done it and gave us wonderful advice on how to cope if she's crying or if she's upset and how we can cope and the whole thing. Bottom line is that was 10 years ago in a couple of days. 10 years ago, she was placed in my arms. That knock on the door happened on Mother's Day 10 years ago. And it has been an amazing 10 years. I cannot imagine having a family another way. I cannot imagine my life, or anyone in my family can imagine our lives without her. She is just a light and a love, and every moment is precious. And today is her special person's lunch at school, and she wanted me to go with her. So, of course, I'm leaving here and going to meet her at school for her special person's lunch. But that's a very brief story about our adoption, and I'm sure I'll touch on the subject a little bit more. As far as the specifics of her life in China, I'm not ever going to touch on that because that's her story and hers to tell. I can only tell it to you from my perspective, our perspective as her parents. So that's it. That's my very special day, 10 years. The love, love, love of my life, this little girl. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everyone.